Hello, Lamar University students. I am so excited that you've chosen, or your professors have chosen, my new book, Poverty is Not a Learning Disability, to lead your course this year. My name's Dr. Howard, and your professors had the forethought to present me with 5 or 6 questions that I hope will give you some idea of what my desire was in writing the book, and information that you might want to hear from me that might not be in the book, such as reasoning and my philosophy of things. So what I'm basically going to do, I have my videographer here with me. We're vacationing in Branson, Missouri, but this is the only way I can get it to you before your class could start. So this is kind of a living room and a timeshare that we're sharing, so I hope you can put up with the informality of my classroom away from home. I have 6 questions. I'm going to address each question and then gather my thoughts, and then we'll start videoing again, and hopefully when we put them all together you'll have a nice stream of all 6 questions. The first question that I was given was, what was the catalyst for you in writing Poverty is Not a Learning Disability? There were a lot of things that prompted me to write this book. A lot of it is a history that I will neither bore you with or make you sit through listening to over 25 years of education and 20 years before that as a single parent raising children in poverty. But when I started working in the classrooms, the one thing I noticed continually was how many teachers really didn't understand poverty, and how many times teachers would come to me within the first month of school and say, you know, Dr. Howard, I think this kid needs to be referred for special education. And when I queried them about why that was, it usually boiled down to things like they weren't paying attention, they weren't bringing in their homework, they weren't finishing their assignments, they were causing behavioral disruptions in the classroom, and that generally was after lunch, early afternoon. When we stopped to think about it after a long period of time, the children that she was referring to me were mostly 100% Title I children from poverty. And I started to wonder, you know, why is this? I raised 3 children in poverty who are all very well educated right now and doing very, very well. So that can't be that poverty is the inherent cause of such problems. And I started observing in the classrooms, and I started seeing mounting frustration every day when the kids who weren't in poverty would start raising their hand from kindergarten on up. And I started to reason that, you know, by after lunch, when we all start to get a little tired anyway, these kids were just fed up in non-academic terms. That's the best way I can tell you. They were tired of seeing children around them answer all these questions that had to do with a buildup of background knowledge that children who aren't raised in poverty have the advantages of museums and books and travel and people around them who develop their language development. And you know what? By 1 o'clock they just wanted to smack somebody, throw something, misbehave. And as far as the assignments, they went home to a lot of hard-working parents a lot of times that just didn't have time. So the impetus, one catalyst for me in writing this book, was to really take a look at classrooms where teachers don't refer a lot of kids for special education, don't retain a lot of poverty kids from one grade without passing them to another. And the research on that really was based around 10 teachers that I identified. Maybe later on, if your professors want me to do another video, I can explain a little bit more in depth about that research. It really was fascinating. It took me about 6 or 7 months to complete. Something else that made me, other than the overabundance of special education referrals based on things that we really didn't understand, was the sheer cost of it. You know, if you turn to page 25 in the book, there's a perfect example about the cost of special education. In 2007, it was estimated that for an average student it cost about $7,500 to put them through a year of school. If you add special education on top of that, that's another $9,000. The special education piece, while it's maybe pull out or not even as full-time as the gen ed piece, costs more, bringing the cost to $6,000. In these budget times, we can ill afford to be spending money on special education for children who do not need it. And another thing was the message that it sends to kids from poverty. You know, I've seen kids who really, when they come into kindergarten, are full of curiosity and the urge to learn and the desire to seek out and find answers. And by 1st and 2nd grade, they're telling me that they're not smart, that they're stupid, that they can't get it. You know, it's a term that we call, if you take a look on page 21, reactive stupidity. They start believing what they see in our eyes. that we don't believe that they can do it, so they stop believing that they can do it. So those, I would say, probably, if you're going to rank it, the child's belief in themselves that they couldn't do it once we've mentally labeled them as special education because they're impoverished, and then the cost and the over-identification of children in poverty when they're referred to special education, and the lack of understanding in our teachers really of what the challenges are that come with special education probably were the three main catalysts for why I wrote the book.